I don't know about you, but I have a slow learning curve. Always have been. Even as a child, let's take math for example. I was horrible. I got D's and C's, had to do math projects every summer because I was just floundering. It wasn't that I couldn't add or subtract. I got those problems and I don't know. Between the spring and the fall, I would just forget. And so I'd have to do these notebooks every summer, and it didn't really even seem to help. I don't know why. But anyway, I get to junior high. I meet Miss Janish, and she introduces algebra. Algebra. Solve for X. X. X was exciting. X was the unknown. X was a little puzzle piece. You had all these numbers in X, and we needed to find out who X was. That was exciting. And it made sense, right? You move numbers here and there, and you add them together, and you move them over here, and you move them over there, and you multiply, and you divide, and all the things that I had been doing before that I was doing but not really getting a handle on. And then there was X, solving for X. All of a sudden, the whole universe of math just made sense to me. And from that moment on, I got A's in math. Solve for X. Sometimes you just need a little bit of time, right? And so that's okay. The same thing happened in theater. And as a director, I experienced this. As an actor, I experienced it. As a director, you would give a note to a performer and they would nod their head and they would get it, and then they wouldn't be able to do what you asked them to do. And you'd give them another note, the same note, but in a different way, and they wouldn't get it. And this would go on for rehearsal after rehearsal. And then one day you tried one more time, a different road in, to explain the same thing that you'd been telling them from the very first rehearsal. And oh my gosh, a little light bulb went off and everything made sense to me, or made sense to them. Same thing happened to me as a performer. I would be in a production and the director would be asking me to do something, and I would be, okay, yeah, I understand that, and I'm doing it. I really thought I was doing it, and yet I wasn't. And then someone else would be sitting in the audience and they would talk to me afterwards and say, well, what about this? And it was just tweaked. The idea was just tweaked in just a certain way that it computed differently, like the X. It just made sense. And then all of a sudden, voila, I was able to deliver what the director wanted. And what does this have to do with writing? Like everything, everybody has their own learning curve, right? And I don't know about you, but for me, I was hungry because I came to writing a novel with not even knowing how to write. I didn't have a clue because I was frozen out of all those creative writing classes that I wanted to take. Another story for another time. But I didn't have any clue. And so I was hungry. And I went to conferences and I got craft books and I read them, and I would be nodding and taking notes and saying, yes, I can apply this and I can apply that. And it wasn't really computing, obviously, because I'm still not published. And yet I know that I have improved. Why do I know that I have improved? Because I can tell now that I'm revising my memoir there's this objectivity that I have that I didn't have before. There's an understanding of being able to look at what's on the page and say, yeah, but this is what you're not doing. And if this is what you're not doing, then what do you need? And what choices can I make in order to get what I need on the page so that it's going to be compelling for the reader as well? It's a whole different thing. And I would not be able to analyze the material the way I am now if I hadn't taken all the workshops and gone to all the conferences and read the craft books. It just wouldn't be there because I needed that arsenal, right? And all along the way, I've often beat myself up about this. Like, I'm not doing enough. Everybody's getting it sooner rather than later. And why is it so slow for me? And I kept thinking, if I could just do it like so-and-so's doing it, if I could just do it like he's doing it, why isn't it working for me? But I have my own learning curve. And even though somebody used that craft book, well, that craft book doesn't really resonate with me, but this craft book does. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately. And that made me think, I don't know why, because these things just come the way they come. I was thinking about Dewey Moore. Dewey Moore was my advisor in undergrad. He was a geology professor. And when I came to college, I had full intention to become a journalist. And I don't know why I wasn't assigned to somebody in the English department. Have no idea. But anyway, I got Dewey Moore. And I was very eager, and I wanted to make sure that I did everything right. That's another story for another time. But because we had the catalog, right? And you had to take at a liberal arts college, you have to take so much of this and so much language and so much history and so much math and so much science and so much all of those things. And they have all the credits that you need. You need number of each in every category. And so my roommate and I were sitting down and figuring it all out. And I was planning, not even planning the term, I was like years ahead. Well, if I take this now and then I could take that then. And I had my plan all together, and I went to Dewey and I said, well, this is what I think. And he just looked at me and he leaned back in his chair and he said, well, you could do it that way if you want. And you'll have everything covered. Or, and he leaned forward, you could take all the classes that you're interested in and you'll fulfill the requirements the same way. Take only the classes I'm interested in. Oh, I like that a lot. I like that a lot. And so that's what I did. The only classes I ever took in college were the classes that I wanted to take. And the end result, I racked up my qualifications earlier and actually graduated earlier, a semester earlier than I would have needed to. Yeah, that's pretty incredible. And I was thinking about Dewey yesterday, and I thought, you know what? That's exactly what I've been doing in my writing life. I've been attracted to certain workshops, to certain conferences, to certain craft books, and not others, because of what I was interested in. And sure, some of those ended up not being the resonance with me that I hoped for, but others of them are. And After all this time, all of those things that I took because I wanted to take them, because I felt a connection to them, because I was interested, really interested and curious about them, all of those things are fusing together right now. And that's deepening my writing. It's making the whole process more exciting. I am exactly where I want to be. I'm exactly where I need to be. I am where I need to be as a writer. And that's everything. I'm doing what I love at this exact right moment in time that I was meant to be doing it. So, what choices are you making? What are you choosing to do because you are drawn to them, because you're excited by them, not by what you think you have to do, by what you want to do in order to nurture your creative self? I think that might be just the beginning of trust. Happy writing.